Well, in a thrilling turn of events, we were up here, mounted, trying to capture stuff down here. The Osmo fell on my computer, and here's what we're working with. So this is like 2 for 2 computers now. Pretty dope. Sick, dude. What up, guys? Welcome back to another video. We are here, touchdown in Ho Chi Minh City, and we have a very, very busy week here. We are onboarding a new client this week. We're kicking off a new project for a current client, and I think we will be upgrading a current client to more of a higher ticket, more frequent projects. And so a very busy week, and we also got to finish the final push for the Rally QA. So we were very busy this kind of like first few days, but I'll bring you along and kind of show you more of the process, more behind the scenes of what it's like to actually like onboard a client, what we're working with, and just to kind of show you what that's like. I appreciate you guys being here. Hit the like and subscribe button, and welcome to the vlog. Since we're onboarding a new client, we earlier today sent them over some emails and also had them fill out this form where I get and download more information about their business. So I'm getting an understanding of their users, I'm getting an understanding of where their business is at currently, what their long-term goals are, what their competitors are, what's their immediate design needs, and all the things of that sort. And I sent it over to them in a Tally form or Google form or things of that sort prior to us having a kickoff call, so that I can truly get a download of their business. So let me quickly show you what that is so you can better understand kind of what that process is for onboarding the client. For onboarding client questions, we basically go through this and we do, what is our competitors? And I go through and ask most questions of this, and then I understand like what's their target demographic and users. Go through a bunch of questions there. Their business, I want to understand what their, what does their business solve? What's their immediate design needs, business goals, long-term goals, short-term, biggest pain points, their marketing and brand. I want to know acquisition channels, what's the markets they serve, where they get customers, and then any brand guidelines. And so that helps me to, just get a better understanding prior to us getting a call and me getting the full, be able to ask them questions, understand more about that, because we will do an official kickoff call tomorrow to be able to, just see more. I'll give them my feedback early. I'm also going through their product prior to us kicking off and just testing it out and seeing what it's like and see if I can just provide any early recommendations on that call to provide value early. There is an interesting thing about this one. So they got done with a branding guideline. So a lot of the clients I work with already come to me with a brand guideline, logos, colors, etc. But I was reviewing this client's one and I noticed that it was really, really similar to the colors that their competitor uses, like their direct competitor. There's, a couple of years ahead and in the same space. And my initial thought is that like it looks like maybe a lower cost, lower budget brand identity that was done, and they may have just looked at their competitors and kind of did like a rip off, if you will, of those colors. And so I think one of the things that I'm going to be doing when I go into the call tomorrow is asking like, hey, are you married to these brand colors and this identity? I know you just got done with it, so I don't want to have them go about and try to redo the whole thing, but I will ask like, are you married to these colors? Because it looks very similar to your competitors. And so like I may suggest, or I probably will suggest to use their secondary ones as their primary and maybe put the primary ones in the back seat and just have them do that, because I think that'll help. We don't want to just look like a straight ripoff of the competitor, especially when they're ahead and they're bigger and things like that. So that might be a little bit of early guidance I provide them on the kickoff call. I'm also creating a list of questions just kind of in my Google Sheets or whatever, if you will, to make sure I'm asking those questions. So this time around, you wanted to work through Contra, so I'm doing this and trying out Contra for the first time. So I got a 50% down payment up front, and then when the rest of the work is delivered, we will then have the final remaining 50%. We're working in a 2-week sprint, so I am charging $3K for this project for 2 weeks of work to deliver them a wireframe flow for the key experience and then the UI for that. So this is kind of like our test project, see if we work well together and see if we actually are happy with the outcome. And so then if that is the case, we'll then transition to more of like a monthly retainer or a project based. We'll have to kind of see what that makes sense for that. So that's what we're doing on. We're sitting here and I never know what to do for thumbnails. Like, do I pose? Do I find a spot over here? Just stand in front of there and do a thumbnail? I don't know. Or do something like this. And then we say juggling more than I can handle. I feel like thumbnails are always an afterthought, but I don't know. Do I I don't know. What do I do? Okay, so partly the client is a AI coaching tool, and they're eventually scaling or trying to scale and get funding and get it into a marketplace for like AI coaches. And so right now I'm going in and reviewing the current state of the product, and I was testing this out a little bit to see like, hey, how does this work? What's the calls like? Get an understanding of kind of what kind of things are done at the end of a call, go through, have those conversations, and kind of just see a real-time audit of what kind of things is going through, so that I can go in and make updates to the platform and make my recommendations. So been doing that a little bit before the call. Okay. It's helpful. Okay. And then, so I guess a few questions too. So after going through the experience, am I also correct in understanding like this is kind of like how it exists today, right? Like right now, the demos is kind of what the product is, right? And then you have the landing page, and you're providing them early access, and then they get access to those demo kind of providers. The experience basically like you land on the page, you start that test call, you talk to your AI mentor. If there are cards that become available during your call based on that conversation, those get surfaced. And then when the call ends, you basically get a summary and any action items if they're relevant to what your conversation was. And then if they're like out of free calls, you get hit with that paywall, or you're out of free minutes and you're like, hey, upcharged at $6. And that's kind of like how the experience exists today, right? And like that's what's built. Okay. And then would you say like we might have talked about it a little bit, but so it might be a little repetitive, but the key problem that we're trying to solve, obviously, this first thing, we're designing out what we would consider like the happy flow, right? Or the happy path, where it's like logs in, first experience, completes that call, and then, what's that re-engagement piece? And like, that's what we're solving for with this one. And so essentially the key problem that we're trying to solve like this is like, right now, there isn't really a post first call, re-engagement piece or sequence of something that like keeps them engaged. So we want to like make sure that throughout that, we find a way of engaging them in the experience, right? And our hypothesis, we want to do something with SMS because that's higher touch, it's, more engaging. It kind of meets them. People already text, and it keeps them top of mind. That sound right? Like of kind of the place we're at. Mm-hmm. I'll give it some thought, but in transparency, I doubt anybody in my network is probably going to be cheap enough. I think most of the devs I have are probably pretty high ticket.
I'll give it some thought, and I can ask at least around, like, if anybody knows anyone. Yeah, and see, or if any designers in my design network have worked with some overseas, agencies and or developers that they would recommend, because, like